our statement regarding our meeting tonight. Good evening. We greatly appreciate our staff, council, and residents adapting to our teleconference format due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight's meeting will be held under Minnesota State Statute 13D.021 that permits a public body to hold a meeting via telephone or other electronic means due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For members of the public, the meeting is being live streamed on the City Wyoming YouTube page. The Wyoming City Council meeting will be recorded as part of the public record. After each agenda item is read and staff gives a report on the agenda item, I will call upon each council member individually if they have questions on that particular item. If you wish to make a motion or a second motion, please state your name first. All votes on all items will be completed by roll call to meet the standard for state statute 13D.021. All right. With that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. As you can see, I do have the flag in the background. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, open forum. Do we have someone here for open forum? Jennifer, is that you?
I have nothing for the open forum. I'm here to listen and be available if needed.
Oh, okay, that sounds great. Mr. Linwood, do we have any letters or emails?
We do not, Mayor Everson.
All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to the approval of minutes, which is number 1, consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council of September 5th, 2020. If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved, Member Zerwas.
We have the first motion from Member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
Member Luger, second.
Member Luger is a second. I will go around the room. Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. Number 2, consider approving the minutes of the special meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for September 17th, 2020. If there are no comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Luger. Do we have a second?
Second, Member Schilling.
We have a second by Member Schilling. Around the room, please. Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. We'll move on to the consent agenda number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Does anybody wish to pull an item on the consent agenda? If not, we need a motion to approve. Do I have a first?
So moved, Member Zerwas.
Member Zerwas makes the first motion. Do we have a second?
Member Schilling will second.
Member Schilling is second. All right, round for roll call. Member Luger.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. We'll move on to communications from officer boards, commissions, and department heads. That'd be number 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. If there are no, does anybody wish to pull any of the communications for further discussion? Not seeing or hearing anyone, we'll move on to communications 13, 14, and 15. Does anybody wish to pull any of those communications for further discussion? Seeing nobody saying yes to that, we'll move on to new business. We're cruising right along. We have 27 items and we've got half of it done. So here we go. All right, number 16. To consider resolution 20-10-87, a resolution approving a comprehensive plan map amendment and a rezoning from the rural residential 2 or R2 district to the mixed use district at 24799 Forest Boulevard. Mr. Weck, you'll be taking this tonight? You're on mute. There
Yes,
you go.
Madam Mayor and council members. Maranatha Assembly God Church is requesting a rezoning of their property from the R2 district to the mixed use district and a comprehensive plan map amendment. Currently, the comprehensive plan map shows the parcel that the smaller parcel used to only house the church as a public use, which included the churches. It isn't really a zoning district. The surrounding areas and the parcel on 250th that they purchased about 2 years ago is slated to be mixed use. So they're requesting that that whole property be rezoned to mixed use, and then to fix the map for the section that actually houses the church on it. This ties into their next application, which is the conditional use permit for a radio tower. Planning Commission held a public hearing. There was no public comments, and they're recommending approval or recommending approval of the rezoning of the property to the mixed use district.
All right, are there any questions from council? I will go around. Member Schilling.
I actually have no questions.
Right, Member Yeager.
How does the comprehensive plan amendment factor into the comprehensive plan update?
There should be no changes. Where the Planning Commission isn't looking at changing the designation of these properties in this area. So that portion of the map should stay the same.
Okay. And the rest of the questions concern the tower. Do you want them now or later?
I think later.
Okay, that would be it then.
All right, let's see. How about Member Zerwas?
No questions.
All right, and Member Luker.
No questions.
All right, so there are no further questions. We need a motion to approve Resolution 20-10-87, a resolution approving a comprehensive plan map amendment and a rezoning from the R2 district to the mixed use district at 24799 Forest Boulevard. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, members there was.
All right, so we have the first motion by Member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
Member Schilling seconds.
Member Schilling is a second. All right. Member Luker,
Aye.
Member Zerwas,
Aye.
Member Yeager,
Aye.
Member Schilling,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Number 17 on our agenda, if you are keeping track of that, that would be number 130, page number 130. Number 17, to consider resolution 20-10-88, a resolution granting a conditional use permit for a radio telecommunication tower and an antenna at 24799 Forest Boulevard. Mr. Weck, I think you'll continue on this one.
Yes, I will, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor and council members, this is the second portion of it. Maranatha is desirous of putting up a radio tower as a part of their congregation. I'm sorry. They originally applied for a variance with the conditional use permit to allow the tower to be taller than what they're requesting right now, and then have it be a guide tower so it would have wires on it, and also to not have to camouflage it. The rezoning request took the camouflage requirements away from the tower because it's no longer in a residential district. They've reduced the height of the tower to 75 feet and is now self-supporting. So none of the variances are required, and that application was withdrawn. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. They are recommending that the conditional use permit is granted with two conditions: that the applicant obtains any applicable permits for construction of the tower, including any building permits or approval from any county, state, or federal entity. And two, that the owner shall maintain the vegetation in the vicinity of the tower such that screening of the structure is preserved to the current extent. And right now it's in the large stand of pine trees, or right adjacent to it. So it is being screened from a lot of the adjacent properties.
Okay, Mr. Weck, I have a couple questions on this. I do know that we had a resident, seeing that I'm on Planning Commission, they did have a question, and it was a very valid question. So hopefully either you can answer it or Mr. Batty can answer it as well. So it looks like that the antenna is actually in the trees, like you said, in the pine trees, correct?
Yes.
Minnesota summers, anything could happen. All those trees can come down. Are they going to have to screen anything at that point in time? And my second question to that would be this. There was also concern about it possibly causing some issue with whether it be telephone or internet service as well. If that does become the case, if that should happen, what would be the protocol that the residents would need to do in order to talk to somebody about possible interruptions of service?
Yes, Madam Mayor. With the first part of the question, with the trees blowing down, obviously it takes some time to regrow trees to do that, but I think that we need to replant trees that would be the same type that would eventually get to that height. Some things that are out of our control, but have them take care of that as best they could. The second part, the FCC would be licensing the tower. They can't do any interference with those types of the cell phones and other equipment. So if there is a problem, they can lodge a complaint and the FCC will take care of that. That'd be part of their licensing requirements.
Okay, and they would be able to come to the city. They would be able to call if they think there is some type of issue, but we'd be able to help them out through that process, correct?
Absolutely.
On who to call.
Absolutely.
All right, and then I had a silly question only because I'm thinking drones, and there is no light beeping at the top of it, and we all know there's drones and whatever going on. Is that going to be an issue?
No, the tower is not tall enough to require lights.
Okay, all right, that's all my questions. So I'll go ahead and go around the room for any further questions. Member Schilling,
No questions.
Member Yeager.
To build on where the radio tower is it in that strip of land between the trees and the pine trees so that it's visible to the people across the street?
It's right on the edge of the pine trees, on the east side of them.
Okay, because I have the resident's letter. She's afraid it's going to be an eyesore. And it looks like she'll be looking right at him. Can something be done to, I mean, is it going to be a pine tree in front of it or?
The ordinance doesn't require that the tower be screened. The fact that they're able to screen at least to some extent, I think is something that's beneficial to the tower. But there still needs to be construction to raise the tower. It can't be right in the middle of the grove of trees. So there are going to be.
I think so.
So there are going to be parts of it that will be visible to other people, but again, it's not required to be screened. And the tower, if you remember, Mr. Bonin had a cell phone tower on Highway 8 3 years ago. It's the same height as that tower, so it's not really that obtrusive.
Okay, so you're just hoping that the gray paint will let it blend in a bit more?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the other thing I keep reading in the report that council had to waive something.
There's in the tower setbacks, we have a provision that they're not supposed to put the tower between a street and their principal building, which would be the church. That is what the waive would be to allow them to put it where it is, right where they're requesting to put it, between 250th Street and the church.
Okay. Is that going to come back and bite us down the road or no?
It's a very large property. I don't see that Maranatha is probably going to be doing anything to subdivide it, at least in that area. If they did, they would have to still meet setbacks from whatever property line they would create. And I don't think we're moving 250th Street, so it's not going to get any closer where if the tower were to fall,
okay,
it would impact it.
Okay. Now, does that waiver need to be written out somewhere?
It isn't requiring a variance. I think just the fact that we're adopting the resolution, allowing it to be in the location it is, you're ipso facto
Okay.
doing that.
Okay, that's all I had.
Before I continue, I do want to ask Mr. Batty something, if he can unmute his microphone. Mr. Batty, what I'm wondering is, I know there's, Maranatha has just been a great church within our community. They do a lot of really wonderful things. What I'm wondering is, do you think, and obviously council can't make them do this, but do you think that maybe at some point in time they might be able to plant some more trees to kind of make it a little more where you can't see it so much from the neighbors or across the street? Do you think that would be something that they might entertain?
I certainly think it's a possibility that they could consider that. They're not going to do anything else. The tower has a fall line, which is essentially the height of a circle that is the height of the tower as a radius, so there is not any other construction or anything that's going to take place in that 75-foot radius circle. I think it's, we have given really careful thought to this whole thing of the visual impact of this thing. And we just think that, looked at several different options on that and just feel like that the tower, the unguided, the single, it's just going to be a sliver because the tower is not even, I think it's only like 18 inches on it's three-sided and it's only 18 inches on a side, so it's just going to be this needle that's sticking up in the air. There's no lights on it. And I think it's the sort of thing, painting it the light gray color where it will, when you see it against the sky, it will have minimum impact that way. And I suppose the other possibility was to paint it green, but that only works when you see it, with the trees as a background. Otherwise,
Perfect.
So
I appreciate that. That kind of helps give a visual description of what it's going to look like as well as people are watching and listening. So, all right, I appreciate that. I'll continue.
Mayor Iverson, one more
Yeah.
question. Is the tower going to be solid, or is it like other radio towers where it's, I don't know, it's like spaces in between the struts?
It's just a miniature radio tower. It's a little lacy, trussed thing where the triangular truss interior members are, probably are less than an inch in diameter. So it's I think it's as minimal as it can possibly be.
So you'd be able to see through it?
Yes, you will be able to see through it. Yes.
Okay.
Let me just, by council members, just shake your head yes or no. I believe we actually have the drawing in our council packets, correct? I remember seeing that, and I couldn't remember if it was because I was on planning commission, but I believe that what the structure looked like was actually put in our council packet. So am I seeing shaking of heads from council members? Okay, good
Yes,
deal.
but it's hard to see.
All right, member Zeros, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I've heard a lot of good answers already. I don't need no questioning. I'm
All
good.
right, great. Thank you. Member Luger.
I have no questions.
And I believe I got everybody. Member Schilling, I got you as well. So, and I have no further questions. So number 17, to consider resolution 20-10-88, a resolution granting a conditional use permit for a radio telecommunication tower and antenna at 24799 Forest Boulevard. Do I have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes that first motion. Do we have a second?
Member Luger will second.
Member Luger makes a second, and I will do roll call. Member Luger.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
And Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. That does pass. I thank Mr. Batty for being here. And then also it looks like Jennifer and Guest. All right, thank you. Continue to listen in if you'd like. All right, number 18, to consider the Wyoming Fire Relief Association request to the city of Wyoming, raising the Relief Association pension level to $3,500 per year of active service. So Mr. Linwood is going to take this, and we also have Fireman Alex Balmer on as well for any questions. So Mr. Linwood?
Mayor Iverson, I'm going to allow Mr. Balmer to start out with his presentation to the council on behalf of the Fire Relief Association. And then from there, I'd like to give some input on the analysis that we did for this item. So Mr. Balmer, if you'd like to give your presentation.
Sure, I can help out with that. So basically we're requesting to raise the pension up $500 to the $3,500 mark. We are significantly still overfunded. it's recommended to be at 110%, and we're well over 150%. So the body requested to increase it. We're still pretty below other cities in the area, so we feel like it is a thing to do. So,
Thank you, Mr. Walmer.
yep.
Council members, as you can see, as part of this agenda item, we have two different reports, one directly from our finance director, AEM, and then a write-up that I gave to the council just to try to break down some of that report and some more input. Essentially, in doing the analysis of the Fire Relief Association and their assets right now and going through that potential benefit level increase, as of right now, both AEM and staff are recommending that council approves that increased request from them. As you can see, there were a few different scenarios that were ran on this. Right now, the city's contribution to the FRA is approximately $5,000 a year or $200 a firefighter. Right now, on those different scenarios, council can see that with this increase from 3,000 to 3,500, there wouldn't be any required municipal contribution, and we would still be in regards to those projected liability issues. We wouldn't be exposing the city to any other kind of liability. Some of those scenarios show that they could also do increases next year and still not have any municipal contribution, but further down the road that may be required depending on how aggressive the FRA is in the request to raise that contribution level. So really at this point in time, for the request that's before you for 2020, we have both staff and our finance director from AEM are recommending to move forward with this, and any of the future asks from the Wyoming Fire Relief, we'll just do an analysis as it comes. That way we can go through and look at their financials, look at the current market shape of the market status, and then potentially some other small impacts as far as if we had an increase to our fire aid, largely due to just population increase. So those are some of the determining factors and those variables that we don't know, but we'll keep doing that analysis if there is another request. So with that, I'll stand for any questions, and obviously to Mr. Balmer as well, if you have questions directly to him.
All right, Member Yeager.
We're voting on just a single increase, is that correct? Until the Fire Relief Association comes back with another increase.
Correct. This would typically be for that increase in this year in 2020 from the 3,000 to 3,500. Correct.
Okay. And then how is fundraising go? I noticed that they do a lot of fundraising for the pensions. What changes have there been in fundraising due to the pandemic? I mean, we didn't have a big Stagecoach Days. Is a decrease in fundraising going to affect the figures?
No, it is not. So we decided not to do our annual what would be banquet, and then we haven't done Stagecoach, but we're still going to be doing our calendar, which should be completed here in the next couple of weeks. So, and that significantly brought in quite a bit of money last year. So don't really see much change in that. So we didn't have to pay out a lot for the Stagecoach with the prepayments. So we're still kind of in the same spot we were last year. So
okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Member Zeros.
Having a question, I'm definitely in favor of the increase.
Thank you.
Member Luker.
No questions.
Member Schilling.
I just had one. When was the last time they requested an increase? I was trying to find it in the packet here and I didn't.
Sure. I believe it was about 2 years ago.
2008, correct.
Okay, 2008?
18.
Okay. All right. That was all I had. I'm in favor of it.
All right, great. And I have no questions as well. And so we'll go ahead and we need a motion to approve the Wyoming Fire Relief Association request to the city of Wyoming, raising the Relief Association pension level to $3,500 per year of active service. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved, Member Zerwas.
All right, so we'll go Member Luker as a first and Member Zerwas as a second.
Sounds
And
good.
Awesome. We'll go around for roll call, please. Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. And I would just like to say to Mr. Balmer, I really like your background. It looks, it looks really
Well,
nice. So,
it kind of matches. We're actually at a cabin because it's our 10-year anniversary. So, yeah.
well, happy anniversary.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, that looks really great. Very nice and comfortable. So,
Thank you.
all right.
right.
We will move on to number 19 on our agenda. Number 19 starts on page 144, if you're keeping track. To consider selecting a consultant to do an analysis of stormwater rate fee study for the city of Wyoming. Mr. Linwood, you'll be starting us out on this.
I will. Mayor, members of council, at the August 18th, 2020 Wyoming City Council meeting, the council authorized staff to put out an RFP for a stormwater utility rate study, and that was to establish rates from 2021 to 2025. That request was put out and all proposals were due on Friday, September 25th. Our current stormwater rate structure was created in 1997 and then reviewed in 2011. We have adopted a budget in 22, excuse me, the purpose of this project was to provide the city with trying to identify the necessary funding. Now that we are an MS4 city, we've talked about this during a lot of our budget work sessions. There are, to make sure that that permit is maintaining in good standing, there are certain activities that the city has to do as far as that stormwater and those guidelines to ensure that we keep that moving forward. So the intention of this was to do an analysis on that current fee and see if it needs any kind of changes, adjustments, needs to be the same, needs to be increased, and to really go through what our needs are here for the future moving forward in regards to those activities and our capital improvements, which currently are not included in that fund. That would be activities, once again, for that stormwater and that MS4 permit. The city received 4 different proposals from this, ranging from 4 different companies. The first, and I'll just do these in the order that they were provided. The first is from Ehlers and Associates. So Ehlers and Associates is a public finance company. They do have experience in completing rate study. They provided the city of Wyoming 3 different references of recent stormwater projects they've completed of North Branch, Chanhassen, and Robbinsdale. Their project team would consist of 2 members from Ehlers, including a senior municipal president and an economic development advisor as a project manager. They have been able to identify that they'd be able to meet a process or complete the process in a timeline the city identified. Some of the things they talked about was to be able to make recommendations for those rates up till 2030. Some of the things that we talked about that hit in that RFP as far as cash balances, strategies for maintaining reserves, CIP funding, planning in regards to how we continue to look at investments in capital, and then an optional comparison of fees to other cities. Like I said, they identified that schedule they could fit into 8 weeks. The fee for Ehlers was $6,000, and then they put in some optional items. It was $2,500 for a stormwater rate structure analysis, and then an optional comparison for other cities was $750. The second is from Baker Tilly Incorporated and WSB. Baker Tilly formerly as Springstead, as the council know them, and they've done some work for the city under that name. They do have significant experience in financial services and utility studies. They've taken an approach where they're partnering with the city's existing engineer, WSB, for this response. They did provide approximately 70 rate studies that they've done in the last 6 years, ranging from a city that is listed within this staff memo. Their team would consist of 3 staff members from Baker Tilly, a firm director, a director, a manager as the project support. Then that would also consist of 3 WSB employees. Our city engineer is a project manager, an environmental compliance representative, and another engineer for project management. They again provided many of the components of the RFP as far as data collection, revenue requirements, rate design, analysis of potential areas for the system charges, ability to fully fund our costs, and to really to go through those different things for as far as needed capital, adequate cash levels, and then to analyze where we're at with this and our age of systems. Another component of this is WSB would also provide a complimentary story map that can be tied to our city website. I think We've talked about this, that I think communication on our stormwater and how it works is always important. I think this would be a tool, no story maps, and we've talked about these for our comprehensive plan, that I think it would work well for a communication component as we look for ways to try to get the information out to the public on our stormwater activities. The next firm on this is AE2S Nexus Services. They are another firm that combines engineering services and financial services. And they also have identified that they have significant experience in stormwater studies from a multitude of cities in the Midwest, along with ones in Minnesota. They have identified that they would have a team that would consist of 5 staff members to complete the study. That would be a project engineer, a deliverable quality specialist, a lead financial analyst, a financial analyst, and another engineer as a planning resource. They once again identified many of the different components that are included in the proposal in regards to our operating and management costs, our CIP costs, those stormwater rates for the next 5 years, and then things such as developing that recommendation for appropriate reserve levels. Their total project cost was $22,018. And I apologize, I don't believe that for the prior proposal from Springstead and WSB, that project total cost was $14,284. Last is the firm Radifils. Radifils is a very large national firm. They are based out of North Carolina. They also have significant experience in stormwater management studies, and they have gave a large list to the city in regards that they've done over 50 stormwater utility studies, and they gave a list of about 8 or 9 different cities that are very similar in size to Wyoming that they've recently done. They identified that they would have a team made up of 4 members that includes a vice president as a project director, a project manager, a principal consultant, and a public works utilities as a technical reviewer and analyst. The scope of the project, once again, is much what meets the criteria of that RFP, the project initiation, revenue requirements, the plan development, rate scenarios, reporting and presentations. And they gave a cost and not to exceed amount of $22,646. And then an optional item is a data and billing audit for $7,608. With that, I'd like to open this item up for some questions and discussion with the council in regards to just discuss some of the differentiations in these different proposals and any other questions the council may have.
Mr. Linwood, can I just, and maybe even Mr. Erickson, I think for the residents that will be watching this, can you maybe just give a little bit of a description of stormwater and what we do with that and why it's important that we need to treat it? I'm thinking that might kind of help our residents understand what the rate is for.
Sure. Mark, do you want to go through the stormwater components a little bit, or I guess our expert engineer?
Yes, I certainly can. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I know this is an item that the city has struggled with. The financial viability of this fund is struggled, right? And so I think this is something that staff and council felt was at least really important to understand how we can best fund the necessary costs that come with the city's obligation with regard to stormwater. And so there's many things, and I'm sure I'll leave out many, but just wanted to quick highlight again. We are an MS4 city, and so that's a Minnesota separate stormwater systems. We have a lot of different systems that discharge to water bodies and streams, creeks, lakes, rivers. And so with that, we have an obligation to make sure what we're discharging is clean. And so part of that is to maintain our stormwater ponds. Part of that is to sweep our streets. We have to make sure that we really maintain the integrity of our system through our MS4 responsibilities with inspections. We've invested significant dollars to implement the system, our surface water asset management program. Public Works staff spends a lot of time working on these. And so I think the thought is that the time associated with stormwater, like our other funds, should come from a stormwater fund. And so part of that responsibility is inspecting all of our stormwater assets every year for certain types of assets. and once every 5 years, one 5-year permit cycle. And so there's a lot of stormwater management facilities out there that our public works staff is required to maintain, operate, and inspect. And not only inspect, but document all of the inspections. And so we've set up some tools to help and ease that and automate things like that. But it also, with those inspections comes repairs and comes costs associated with pond dredging and things of that nature. And so we're really trying to get a handle on the costs overall for the community to maintain and operate their stormwater their stormwater systems within the community.
All right, thank you very much. I will go around and ask to see if anybody has any questions. We'll start with Member Yeager.
All right, so what do you get for 20,000, 14,000, 20,000 that you're not getting at 6,000?
Sure. I think that's, the comparison. Obviously, we have one bid here that's quite a bit lower than the others. I think one thing to point out in regards to the financial firm is there is no engineering costs figured into this. So there will be a component of those engineering costs that would be inclusionary in this as well. So that's one thing. As far as the different rate structures, it appears that there are some more in depth in regards to rate structures on some of the other proposals comparative to the lower one, and that looks like more of an option in that bid. Otherwise, I think you're looking at potential, just in regards to the teams that may be, the smaller bid obviously has 2 individuals working on this, but it looks like they both have experience based on some of the other companies where you have larger teams that are working on the analysis for this storm study. Otherwise, I think some of it comes down in regards to, you see the more, obviously we have a 6, a 14, and then we have the 22s, just based on what they think it'll take for their staff and to get this project done. I don't think there was significant differences in the proposals. Like I said, maybe minus that engineering component in these larger ones from the 14, the 22, and the other one that was 22 from Springstead, Radefeld, or Nexus AE2S.
So, all right, so you're saying that the lowest bid engineering costs would be extra and the higher bids engineering costs would be included?
Those are the inclusionary with those, right? When you have the engineering components would be part of that, where this one is not identified in that. So that would be one difference, correct?
Okay, and how much do you think the engineering costs would be?
I don't know the exact in regards to how it was broken down within the proposals. My guess would be probably within this, and Mr. Erickson, the WSB is working with Springstead on this. I would guess probably 2,000 to 3,000 in those engineering costs, but I think that probably varies from company to company.
And I can speak to that, Rob. You're actually spot on with that dollar amount. And I certainly can't speak to the others, but looking at the low, it appeared that was not, and that they were looking to just receive that information. And so I think that was not included in their estimate. But again, you're correct with that amount. I think we were going to be as aggressive as any company out there. We went really hard after that. We think it's important component for the city, and we have intimate knowledge with the Surface Water Asset Management Program and what needs there are. We have a close working relationship with Public Works. We're involved with the with the training with Public Works on the environmental compliance side of things, and so we really have our hands around things. And so I think the engineering side was very, very competitive, and simply because we have most of the information at our fingertips and readily available. Certainly there's a lot of costs to calculate and estimate, working closely with city staff. One of the things that I think was really, really important, when I see rate studies come out, I think the communication piece is really critical. And so we really put a focus on including a story map. I know that, residents, whether or not there's a rate increase or not, I think it's really important for residents to understand where the dollars are going and how, to really justify that. And so, Story Map, we found that they're extremely successful. We link them to the city's website, and they're really tell a story, an important story, and they're interactive, and you can scroll through and you continually get more information and learn a little bit about the city's program, what the city's obligations are, what costs are involved, and why there is a stormwater utility. I think that's really an important message in implementing any rates, whether it's an existing rate or a change in rate. And so we felt that that was an important part. We've been thinking about this for a little bit, and we have a pretty good idea of what we'd like it to look like. And it's something that we've included as a value added service, and it's a complimentary service that we've thrown out there just because we know that it's important. And it's really we do a lot of story maps, and you're working with us on some with the comprehensive plan, but this is one that will be a first for WSB with regards to the MS4 services. And so we're excited to roll that out and use Wyoming as a pilot project for that.
All right.
So, so 6,000 plus another 3,000 in engineering fees. So we pronounced it Ehlers back east. Ehlers, I think you call it.
I believe so. I think I've heard it both ways, actually.
Yeah. So we're talking, that bid ends up coming up over $10,000 if you add the optional part and the engineering fees. Is that about right?
I would say that's about an appropriate evaluation of that as we've looked at these, correct?
Okay. I said my concern is, I remember when we reviewed it in 2017 and the trouble we got into when the projections were more optimistic than what ended up in reality. And as long as that's not repeated again, I'm happy.
Councilmember Yeager, I'm sorry. When we did analysis of the stormwater in 17,
No, that's 11.
Okay, no, that makes sense then. Yep, I think, right, okay, I just wanted to,
Yeah, no, that was 11, yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay, I just wanted to clarify, make sure I was following, but right, yeah, we did.
No, that was 11, I'm sorry if I said 17.
We did do the analysis in 11, you're correct.
Okay.
All right, Member Schilling.
Most of my questions were actually answered when I was comparing bids and reading through each thing. I did notice that was left off on theirs originally. Conservatively, if you take all three options, and that ends up being in there, which it will, we're over 12,000 for their potential bid. My feeling is I like the second lowest just because of the familiarity of the area, the staff, and everything is covered in writing on paper, and they got a long list of cities that they've done this for as well. So, and literally just in the past 5 years. So my comfort zone is in that one. So that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, Member Luker.
I concur with Member Schelling. I think there's an incredible value to having retaining services with folks who are already familiar with our community and kind of what the needs are and what it looks like without having to do too much introductory how-tos. So, that's my preference as well.
Okay, Member Zerwas.
I have no additional questions.
Okay. I know for me, we're always watching our dollars. I think that's very, very important. But one thing that concerns me about the least expensive one is there wasn't a lot of information given in terms of what they're going to be able to provide us. It wasn't as comprehensive as the other three that we received. And that's always when you are in business and you look at that kind of stuff, right? You want to make sure that you have everything in there, you're not surprised. And I get a little worried about that if it's not spelled out. I will say that I do with Baker Tilly, and especially we know that WSB has done a great job for the city and has always watched out for us. So I'm comfortable with that piece. I know that the storyboard also is extremely important because we know that this is a very complicated matter. It's really hard to understand what every fee is for. And I'm going to say this, I've said it before, MS4 is an unfunded mandate, and cities have to figure out a way to pay for it. And that's very unfortunate. And I will stand strong on that. It was an unfunded mandate, federal down to state and now down to city. So, so that's my 2 cents on that. So we'll go ahead and we'll need a motion if there are no more questions to, it looks like if I'm going to go around the room and add this because we're going to have to say which company we're going with. Am I correct, Mr. Lunan? When we make that motion? Okay. So Member Luger, who are you leaning to? I want to make sure we have a consensus.
I'm leaning towards Baker Tilly and WSB.
Okay. Member Schilling?
Baker Tilly, WSB.
Member Yeager?
Same.
And Member Zerwas?
The same.
Okay. All right. So we need a motion to approve Baker Tilly WSB to do the analysis of the stormwater rate fee study for the city of Wyoming. Do I have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes the first. Do I have a second?
Member Luger will second.
Member Luger makes that second. Roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Zerwas?
Aye.
Member Luger?
Aye.
Member Schilling?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye on that. All right, so we'll move to number 20 to consider hiring of Jenny Olson for the administrative assistant utility billing position at the wage of $23.23 an hour. Mr. Linwood, you'll lead the discussion.
Yes, Mayor Iverson, Council. This is an item that we had asked the council for approval to start the selection process for this position. As you're aware of, it is recently vacant. This position is more important than ever in our organization, as it is our administrative assistant and then that utility billing clerk. As council knows, you did a vote to bring in a new software, and the bringing in that new software for both many different functions in our city, but one of those largely being our utility billing. And with that, this individual will be largely responsible for the billing and maintaining of that system, with the city looking to bring that back, with us bringing that back in-house with that new software. Our staff members went through and reviewed 156 applications for this position. We conducted first round interviews, second round interviews, and then we had the final interviews go through a skill practical and a personality assessment. The top candidate for this position was Jennifer Olson. She is most recently has worked the past 5 years for Chisago Lakes Community Education as a physical development administrative project coordinator. Some of her responsibilities in going through that is managing community events, marketing, updating web pages and social media accounts, and software implementation. Prior to that position, she worked in the capacity of an administrative assistant in that Chisago Lakes Community Education for 4 years, and job responsibilities in that included customer service to community ed registrants in person, phone, and email. She maintained those registrations, analyzed accounts, and then maintained all the billing, payables, receivables, and schedules for those over 500 accounts. She's also proficient in Microsoft Office, database management, and other items such as graphic design, InDesign, MailChimp, Constant Contact, SurveyMonkey, and social media account management. Ms. Olson received her bachelor's degree from in sports management and business administration. And we believe that her previous work experience in account management, strong attention to detail, communication skills, customer service skills, and the administrative functions that she can bring will really translate strongly to this position. So staff, based on her qualifications and history, we're recommending that we start Ms. Olson at step 3 in the wage scale for this position at $23.23 per hour with our standard 6-month probationary period. And with that, I'll stand for any questions the council has.
All right, we'll start with Member Schilling.
I got to start off with first, Rob. I cannot believe you went through that many applicants. That's a lot of time and a lot of energy.
We had a good team going through them, so.
Yeah, wow. Nope, I've read through this. I think should be a good fit for us. I'm all in favor of it. I know we looked at it fiscally, and I think it was going to work for us as a city. I like the idea of bringing all this in-house. Again, when you have everything under one roof per se, I think it makes it runs a lot smoother, and you have better communication with things as well, and it becomes more real time to me. So that's all I had.
All right, Member Yeager.
When do you anticipate this position taking over the utility billing, or otherwise phrased as, when will the contract with Opus be terminated?
Sure. That will be something that we'll continue to discuss in regards to that relationship with Opus, but we have began probably on the other component of that spectrum. We begin having those discussions with BSNA and starting that proposal through them to work through that. Right now, we are looking that we're potentially hoping that we're going to be starting that as soon as next week, going through that process, and that we would be able to have BSNA live as soon as April in the city of Wyoming for all of our different components. And then we'd be working out how that would factor into that as far as our utility billing in that quarter, when we would actually factor that in, if that would be that second quarter or third quarter, and how that would work with Opus, and making sure that when we do the switch over, that we have complete control of it, and we're making sure that we're going to actually have a good, strong, accurate process and billing when the city actually takes it over and has complete ownership in that process.
Okay, how much notice do you have to give Opus before you terminate the contract?
Originally, I haven't looked at it for a while, but there is a notice in the contract. I know that when we redid this back in 2017, there was some stipulations in it. I know that we have talked to BSNA and other communities that have recently ended those agreements with Opus. So I don't think it's a significant period of time, but we'll definitely reevaluate that to make sure that when we want to go live with ours, that we don't have anything outstanding with Opus in regards to our contract.
Okay.
All right, Member Zerwas.
I really don't have any questions. The question I was going to ask has just been answered about the contract. Other than that, I have no questions.
All right, Member Luker.
I have no questions.
All right, and I just want to maybe reiterate, I'm kind of excited that she's got a lot of other background as well. It's kind of nice to be able to have a utility player also, not in the sense of what she's being hired for, but to be able to do different spreadsheets, to be able to do web page, all that kind of stuff. So it's really nice to kind of have that as well, that we can gear her up for. There's things that need help in the office if somebody's gone. So with that, we need a motion to hire the hiring of Jenny Olson for the administrative assistant utility billing position at the wage of $23.23 an hour. Do we have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling.
All right, so we have Member Schilling as a first. Member Zeros, are you the second?
Yes.
Awesome. Roll call, please. Member Luger?
Aye.
Member Zeros?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Schilling?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye, and we will welcome Jenny Olson when she starts at the city. So, all right, number 21. Number 21 on the agenda is also on page 265. If you're looking at the table of contents. Resolution 20-10-89, a resolution approving the purchase of an agenda management software from Civics Plus in the amount of $10,687. Ms. Dumas, I think you're presenting on this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, the city's conversation about agenda management software has been a part of the larger conversation that we've been having as a part of the city's emergency response to COVID-19. And here tonight, I'm presenting a proposal for the city to purchase or enter into a contract with Civic Clerk, which is a subsidiary of Civic Plus, to acquire an agenda management software for the city. This move would not only help to address some of the city's logistical challenges as we continue to navigate the need for virtual meetings during COVID-19, but it also substantially adds value beyond that to the city of Wyoming. First, beyond the emergency impact of improving transparency to public meetings and facilitating council members interacting with virtual materials, the agenda management software also substantially decreases the amount of staff time involved in compiling virtual documents. It also has some features that I'm going to go into in a minute that expand the transparency of public meetings by allowing residents or whoever is in the public wanting to view meetings to watch the video feed as well as look up the actual meeting materials. So there's a couple features of the agenda management software that I want to highlight to you tonight. The first is that there is a workflow process that really streamlines the amount of staff time involved in putting the meeting materials together. The second feature is that there is a video component that allows us to timestamp our videos that connect it back to the agenda and agenda materials. There's also a meeting minutes compiler that is an optional tool that the city could use to implement and streamline our minutes compilation process. And it also facilitates consistent formatting of all of our meeting materials, which really helps to promote the professional nature of our meetings, as well as, again, improve transparency by making it easier for people unfamiliar with meetings to find what they're looking for. So one thing I did want to do is show an example of what this tool can do, looking at West St. Paul. Rob, could you let me share my screen? Let's see here. Okay. So West St. Paul is a city that utilizes Civic Clerk as a part of their agenda management software, or as their agenda management software. And as you can see here, I'll make you guys go small there. This unit here would look very similar on our city website. This is just a plugin that goes right into our website. And it shows a couple different things on here. First of all, it shows the minutes. You can click on these icons and it will show you the minutes for these meetings. So it's very easy to identify which meeting those minutes are associated with. This icon here, if I click it, would open up a video feed, and I'll do that in just a moment. It shows the video feed specifically for this meeting. You can click on the meeting itself here, and it opens up the agenda for the meeting. And here you can see all of the items are hyperlinked. And if I were to open one of these, click on it, it opens up the materials attached to that item. So it's very easy to identify which materials are related to which item and not get lost in the large packets that we sometimes end up with, like tonight. So that is really easy to look at the agenda and understand what materials are connected to which items. You can also go to the video, like I mentioned, and it pulls up a screen that looks like this. So here, this screen is going to be your video feed, and that's going to be the same video that we show on our YouTube screen. And on the right here is the agenda. You can click on these items, and it will jump to that section of the meeting. Similarly over here, you can click on these and it will jump to that section of the meeting. So if a resident wants to find out just what a specific section of the meeting or a specific item, what the discussion was, it's very easy to go back and see what is covered during that section of the meeting. All right. Are there any questions about, or one more thing, you can also download the full packet materials here. You can do that either by using Adobe or a website, so it doesn't require any specific software to be able to view those materials. So it's very user-friendly for the public. You can go back and see past meetings very easily. And it's very intuitive to identify really what you're looking for, which is really critical as people are doing more engagement online and are becoming more familiar with that online medium, to make sure that we are really meeting people where they're at and where they're familiar, to help them be able to more fully engage in public meetings. And that is all I have, and I will open for questions.
So I'm going to go ahead and start on this, because I'm going to tell you, I was very curious about it, and I did go to the West St. Paul site and played around with it a little bit. So incredibly easy to do. I know I could probably look at most of us and we wanted to go back and listen to something or review something, and you're kind of fumbling through the whole entire meeting, and this is just swift, easy, gets you to what you want. We have worked really hard as a council to be transparent with everything we've done in this last 4 years. And I think that this is just a great benefit for our community. Kelly, just one question, probably the biggest question: when does everything get downloaded onto that page? So the agenda comes out a couple days ahead of time, correct? And then the packet information and stuff, when does that get downloaded and residents are able to see that? And then I'm assuming they can follow along the hyperlinks or after that meeting. So
yes, so the all the packet materials are automatically uploaded to the website. And so as of right now, staff emails out the materials to the council. What this tool would allow us to do is just send you the link to the city website, which would have those materials. So they would be available to the public as soon as they're available to the city council. And like you said, the links back to the videos, that would be after the meeting had occurred.
Okay, and then same with minutes. So we all know that after the meetings, then there's the minutes and they have to be approved. So then I'm assuming it'll take a little bit longer to get those approved meetings on there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but if any resident should have any questions about what went on in that meeting and what was actually said, right, we'd be able to direct them to this website. They'd be able to pick it up and or listen to it and get the correct information right away. So that's pretty exciting. And then also just to know, our residents are going to be able to see this before the meetings happen, right? They're going to be able to get that information in real time, and everybody gets it at the same time. So I find it very intuitive and, like you said, very easy to do. My other question is this: about how many hours would you estimate in staff time? And I'm also looking at Chief Hoppy on this. I'm looking at Mr. Almgeld on this. We all know that it takes a lot of time to do these staff reports and that sort of thing. So I'm curious as to how intuitive is it for our staff, and time-wise, how much are they going to get back to do other things besides this?
Yes, thank you. So Civic Clerk has a couple examples that they've included in their proposal about the experience of staff who have implemented this tool. One of the cities included in there, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they had referenced that their city clerk estimated that it saved about approximately 8 hours a week for her time alone in producing the packet materials. I think for our city staff, you could say this would streamline our process to really save approximately 15 to 20 hours a month in staff time to put together packet materials. That would really open up staff to be available to do other work for the city.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask Member Schilling, because he is from that city, so we'll point that out. But Member Schilling, you obviously have worked with this software before, and coming from a staff perspective, what would you say has been a benefit of this particular software?
I really like it as a facilities manager and the CBO for them. All I literally do is click into this. I download my link, my agenda memo as we see it right now. If we're currently sitting on page 265, I link those to the meeting under the position that it needs to be. I attach my attachments and it's done. So on my side of it, on the staff side of it, I love it. It made it a lot easier for us to do. And the council really likes it because then they can click in and see it immediately once that is done. Our deadline in West St. Paul, we have to, as a staff, we have to have everything in by noon Wednesday on the system itself. And if anything gets missed, it has to be moved to the following meeting because they don't want us going back in there and trying to add things after the fact because, meetings are busy and they're long. So I love it. I think it's very simple to use as a user. I do love the fact that we can go back and look at any meeting, click on anything as Kelly showed us. I can literally go to any subject on that meeting and watch it live. I can gather minutes. I can go right to any of that without digging through paperwork files, any of that stuff. It's literally just click and go. So I think it's wonderful. I know the city residents love it because then they have direct access to the same packet we have and they can move forward or backward in it as well. I haven't heard any complaints from it.
All right, thank you. I should say, do you have any questions? So you're
zero questions on it. The one thing I will add though is I got to give a little poke at my boss. He's been there for 19 years or 18 years and he still can't figure out how to use his own computer. So
okay, well, it is getting
we do
easier
it
all the
for
time.
him.
That's awesome. We won't tell him you said that.
Right.
All right.
Oh, he knows.
All right, Member Yeager.
So this is the second part of the transition to a virtual packet, the iPads being the first part. Is that right?
They are not necessarily related. As I said, it's a part of a kind of a larger conversation we've been having about really how can we support residents engaging with public meeting materials. Having council members having technology that really supports that, that's one aspect. This is another aspect of that conversation.
Okay, maybe I just misunderstood because in the August 21st memo, it had said that the transition involves two main investments for city council, the first being tablets and the second being this software.
Yep, those were the two kind of key components that the city has looked at as a part of this transition. And as we continue to evaluate the city's response to COVID-19, we continue to look for opportunities to really support that goal of making meetings transparent and available and accessible to the public as we're continuing with our virtual format.
Is this software necessary for the iPads to work effectively?
No.
Okay. What's the life expectancy of this software?
This is a cloud-based software, so it is continually updated. So the city makes a one-time initial investment, and then there's a yearly fee if the city continues that contract after the first year.
Okay, and we had just bought this six-figure $147,000 software package last month. Doesn't that package have the capabilities of doing agenda management? Or at least posting meeting materials online?
I'm not sure which software you're referring to.
The BSA software for $147,000.
That is not, that is a different type of software than the agenda management software. The BSNA software is really focused more on the city's financial management and different financial tools that the city uses. So it's an entirely different framework and really allows the city to do very different things. This is more of a communication tool and supporting our transparency of our public meetings and making them accessible to residents and supporting staff logistics and putting the meetings together.
Okay.
And I think that, and it's well said. And I think one thing in regards to the BSNA software that none of those, as Ms. Dumas stated, they really are a different type of software. And the council selected BSNA for that software, but none of the softwares that we reviewed for those protocols really had anything to do with the agenda management software. And that isn't something that those types of softwares really, there's no relationship there at all.
Okay. And
One
then,
thing, one thing to note with the agenda management software, as it is a part of the city's emergency response to COVID-19, the initial investment is reimbursable through the CARES Act.
right, I'm more concerned about when it's time to replace this software. Between, CARES is just to the end of the month, or November, I think, right?
November 15th.
November 15th. I'm just concerned that when you add the annual fees onto the software, it's kind of eating up any savings we're getting, and this is getting a little too expensive. And isn't there a more cost-effective way of posting meeting materials to the website?
There is a more cost-effective way. I mean, the city could continue its current practices. However, there is also a cost of the impact on transparency and residents. Transitioning to virtual meetings does change how we operate, and it does change how people can engage with us. And so this is an attempt to really bridge that gap and help support the city moving forward with more digital meeting materials and again, opening up some more staff time to pursue other city initiatives.
Are we suggesting then that virtual meetings, we will never go back to physical meetings?
Nope, that is not a part of this initiative. However, there are many people who will continue to engage with the city's meetings virtually. There are some people have, or there's, it has been identified that there are people who couldn't access public meetings in person who are now able to engage virtually. If you look at parents, for example, who have to care for young children, that can be challenging to go out to a public meeting. It's very accessible to turn on your computer and watch public meetings that way. So this is also an attempt to really continue the access that people who are not able to attend in-person meetings can have to the meeting materials.
But we already live streamed the meetings, right?
Correct.
Even before even before COVID, so people can see the meetings.
Correct. This just adds some additional utility and tools for people engaging with the meetings in that format that allows them to more easily follow along with meeting materials.
Okay.
As well as go back and access meetings that have already happened.
Well, we can already do that now, correct?
You could go back and watch a video. However, when there are meetings that last an hour, 2 hours, that can be a lot of material to sort through. So this tool just really streamlines that process and makes it very easy for anyone who's trying to find a specific item to really find the conversation and materials associated with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go member Zerwas.
I have no questions. I'm same category as Dennis's boss.
Okay, sounds good. I like that. All right,
Joe, you'll be able to use it. Trust me.
Yeah, it is very easy, Joe. So I'm kind of with you some days. Okay, and member Lugar.
Most of my questions were answered. I mean, in all honesty, I'm kind of nerding out over this. I love the idea that it's streamlined, that it's easy to use, that it increases the transparency to residents that much more, and it makes it that much easier. I think that there's absolute value in that, knowing that we have a very wide spectrum of residents who want to participate in meetings, whether we're talking senior citizens or younger constituents who have young kids and maybe can't get out to meetings. And so I absolutely love this idea. And I just wanted to clarify, if I'm understanding correctly, Ms. Dumas, we're able to utilize or get reimbursement through CARES funding. In terms of when we have to up the renewal or upgrade the software, in terms of an actual hard cost benefit analysis, outside of saving the hours of staff time and thus freeing up staff to do other responsibilities, it seems like this is a lateral move, right? Like, we're not spending extra money. I mean, we're already getting the CARES funding, but when it comes time to have to spend money on it, we're still breaking even in terms of what we currently provide.
Do you mean what we currently provide in terms of what tools are available to residents?
I just mean in terms of like actual cost.
Printing, and you're talking, Member Lugar, printing, staff time, all kind of wrapped up, right?
Right.
I have not done analysis specifically of the cost of the staff time that has been saved or that would theoretically be saved, but that would contribute to the cost differential and the return on investment that you're talking about. The printing costs that we talked about in terms of the devices, that was pretty even for those that cost difference. So any cost savings that would be found through this would mostly be in the staff time involved in that would be saved through use of the product.
Okay. My other question then is, assuming that we go ahead with this, what impact does that have on the, so, you know, I know there are certain residents who they're used to seeing the website at this point in a certain way, right? And sometimes change is difficult. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can kind of phase, if we can kind of give residents a heads up of it's going to look different, it's coming, so that it's not just a situation where somebody clicks on the website and it's, you know, and everything looks different and crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. The city can absolutely do some communications through, we send out a MailChimp, we have our social media, letting people know that there's going to be a change to the city website. Looking at the kind of structure and examples that are out there in neighboring communities, it would be very easy to direct residents to look at other communities to kind of get an example and maybe build some familiarity with the tool as it operates in other communities. And again, reinforce that there will be a change upcoming to the city website.
Thank you. This
thank you.
Sounds like a great investment.
Well, I'm going to say that transparency is priceless. And we have been working towards this goal for 4 years. And I think this is just kind of the cherry on the top and really gets everybody, all our residents on the same page. They hear anything, they can go directly to find out. It's not going to take them hours to kind of listen and watch. It goes directly where they can, so they can get their answers in real time right away without spending hours. I can't tell you enough how important I think that is for our residents and for that engagement. So, all right, with that, what's that?
Do you mind if I ask one more question, Mayor Iverson? I'm sorry to interrupt.
You sure can, Member Lugar.
Awesome. So how, with the video component, can we ensure that there's closed captioning for our deaf and hard of hearing residents?
I can follow up on that.
Okay.
I know that is an option. It may be an additional cost.
Okay.
But that is an option with the video software. It is. I can follow up with the city council to confirm if it is included in the existing package. I don't believe it is, but I can let you know. It would be a feature that if the council was interested in the future, adding to the software, that would be available at a future time as well.
Awesome, thank you.
That was a great question, Member Lugar. All right, so we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-10-89, a resolution approving the purchase of agenda management software from Civic Plus in the amount of $10,687. Do I have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes that first motion and Mayor Iverson will make that second. All right, so roll call, please. Member Lugar.
Aye.
Member Zeros?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Just muted.
Member Yeager, you're muted. Member Schilling?
Aye.
All right, we'll try Member Yeager one more time.
I found it. Aye.
All right, so with that, that is approved. We are going to move on to number 22 on our agenda, to consider Resolution 20-10-90, a resolution approving the purchase of a utility locator and televising camera from Utility Logic in the amount of $19,817. Mr. Amjad, you'll be taking this as a start?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Iverson and City Council members. Public Works has a 20-year-old locator currently that is used for water and sewer only. We are looking at a new locator that will locate water, sewer, electric, and some stormwater structures. The RTK GNSS locator we are looking to purchase also has the ability to GPS the pipe or structure. As an employee is locating the line, he can GPS the pipe at the same time. Then this information is sent to a cloud-based software. The employee can then use his mobile device or his desktop at Public Works to edit the information. Then we would create a shape file and then we'd email that to WSP to be implemented into Data Link, which is our asset management software. Public Works is also looking at a camera that would go along with this locator and to look at problems with site pipes and structures. The VCam we're looking at has a sound unit in it. We can run the camera down the pipe and find the problem, and then we can find the camera with that RTK GNSS locator. They work together on that. The televising unit also has the ability to be viewed remotely, or we can put it on a flash drive. The video can then be sent by email. Purchase of the two units eliminates the need for many people to congregate when there is a problem and allows one employee to locate and collect data. The RTK GNSS is $10,349, and that needs City Council approval. The VCAM 6 HD inspection system quote is $9,468 and is being added with a locator for transparency. Both quotes are from Utility Logic and qualify for CARES Act funding. So at this time, staff recommends approving the purchase of the RTK GNSS locator and the VCAM 6 HD inspection system for the quoted price of $19,817.
Thank you. Mr. Amjad, do you have to have both of these pieces of equipment?
No, Mayor, they are two separate pieces of equipment. It's just that with the sound unit, they work together if you want to locate exactly where the problem's at.
Okay, and can you give an example of, I think recently we probably had an issue where we had to use something like this, right? In one of our projects, but can you give an example of why this is important for a city to have, and is it cost savings for us by having this?
Yeah, a good example would be the sewer line break we had this last week. We didn't know what the problem was, where the sewer was broken, and so we tried to call a camera, or I should say Dressel tried to call a camera outfit with an actual robot camera that goes down the pipe. And we could not get anybody for the first day. So then the second day, we did find a camera outfit to come in. But with this, we could have just ran the camera down the pipe. It's a push camera. It's not made to do a whole development, like when we do a street project. It's just to locate a problem. And we could have found the problem, televised it. People like Mark could have been watching it remotely to see what it is. We could put it on a flash drive. We could email it to all the concerned parties. Then we would have found the sign, painted it exactly on the road where the break's at, and saved a lot of labor just on that one unit, because then everybody doesn't have to congregate at this break. You get up to 10, 15 people all together from all the different things. But with this, they could all have an app on their phone. They could watch what we're doing. And then same with the public, the residents, if they don't have to come out to the road, we can actually hand them a flash drive or email them the video. It has a lot of benefits.
Okay, and how long does this typically, there's no set, you can't really set a time frame, but how long are these expected to last? I'm assuming that we're not using them all the time, So we'll probably get a lot of use out of them, or a long longevity out of something like this.
Yes, I would, the locator itself, but probably last 20 years plus, that's what our current one has. The camera system, maybe 15-year lifespan on the cameras themselves. You have a camera head going down a sewer line. And it comes with 2 different camera heads. And yeah.
Okay, so we're talking roughly $1,000 a year.
Correct.
In that time frame. In that. Okay. All right. Member Schilling.
I really don't have questions because we currently use one, and we've had ours now going on 6 years. We use it to do all of our I&I inspections. So ours has been over 6 years now being used daily, up to 12 of these inspections per day. I think they are phenomenal because, as Mr. Holmgeld had stated, you got a sewer that's not going, you run the camera down, it tells you exactly where it is. You can locate above with another person. All you do is dig at that point. You don't have to play discovery or wait for someone else to come and figure out what's going on. They show the dips, they show kinks, they show roots. It's a phenomenal system, and it saves a lot of staff time, and it makes it very quick for repairs as well. So.
All right, thank you. Member Zerwas.
No questions.
All right, Member Yeager.
This is all paid for by CARES funding?
Yes, it is, Councilman Leader.
Okay, thank you.
Member Luker.
I have no questions.
Awesome. All right, so we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-10-90, a resolution approving the purchase of a utility locator and televising camera from Utility Logic in the amount of $19,817. Do I have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling.
So moved, Member Zerwas.
All right, so we'll go Member Zerwas as the first and Member Schilling as the second. Motion on that, and we'll do roll call if that's acceptable. All right, Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
Okay, and Mayor Iverson is an aye on that as well. Number 23 on the agenda, to consider resolution 20-10-91, a resolution approving the purchase of a mobile meter reader, that's a mouthful, and water tower antenna reader from Ferguson Waterworks in the amount of $43,000. And Mr. Holmgeld, are you starting with this one too?
Yes, ma'am. The city of Wyoming is in the process of changing the city water meters that are currently AMCO and Badger to Neptune water meters. The process has moved Public Works into a new mobile reader to read all the water meters with a Neptune mobile reader. This decision came about after AMCO and Badger water meter radios, which are called Itrons, informed cities that the Itrons would not be supported after 2021. Ferguson Waterworks is in the process of setting up our mobile reader, which is called the AMR when you see the abbreviations, for our October meter reading. After discussion on the Gateway R900 fixed radio system, we looked at the benefits of advanced meter infrastructure, AMI. An AMI system would include radios and antennas on top of the city water towers that could read the Neptune water meters if they are within range of the radio signal. The investment would decrease the need for Public Works employees to have contact with residents in their homes, something that we have been working to find ways to decrease due to COVID. Additionally, the redundancy of staff able to complete water reads with this technology would support continued operations of water meter reading in the case that we experience an outbreak of COVID-19 in our staff. This investment would qualify for the CARES Act reimbursement. The AMI system has benefits that will enhance both efficiency and resident support. The meter reading of water meters would occur from City Hall. Public Works would not be reading the majority of the meters. The meters that are missed by the R900 system, we call that no reads, would be read by the Public Works with a drive-by reader. Meter readings could be obtained at City Hall. This would make it easier to migrate to monthly readings. And when they talk about migration, also I wanted to include that you can put the antennas on the tower and install the meters at any pace you want, or vice versa. You could put all the meters in at once and then use the radio, antennas on the tower or your mobile reader. So it doesn't matter what order you put antennas on. Home ownership changes require meter readings too. This will be obtained right at City Hall also. Public Works would not have to drive to the residence, obtain the reading, then return the information back to the utility clerk. Information such as leaks, reverse flow, no water usage could be red flagged at City Hall, and the homeowner would be notified, reducing large water bill issues. And then data such as graphs and hourly readings can be emailed directly to the resident from City Hall without having contact with Public Works employees at their homes. And in migration to the fixed system, the R900 data collectors would be installed on the current water towers. The meters we are installing would be added to the system as we install the Neptune meters. We can install the meters as we are or choose to do them all at once. Adding new developments that are out of range of the two collectors will be corrected by adding a new data collector to that area. The addition of new data collectors can be added at any time when it is feasible to not use the mobile reader. These are a few of the efficiencies and improvements that both the City of Wyoming and residents could expect with the R900 fixed system. The system was quoted by Ferguson Waterworks at a price of $43,000. That includes installation on the city's water towers. And this system also qualifies for the CARES Act. So staff recommends the purchase and installation of the R900 gateway system from Ferguson Waterworks at a price of $43,000.
Awesome. I actually have like 100 questions on this. So I know that Member Luker was geeking out about the software for our minutes and stuff. So I have to say I'm kind of geeking out a little bit about this. Yeah. So several questions, and I'm probably looking at Mr. Almjed and Mr. Erickson and probably Mr. Linwood to kind of help me with this. So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is this will be something that as we bring utility billing back in-house and we have this new software in-house, that we would be able to possibly do something monthly, right, with our billing, that with that residents are also going to be able to, I shouldn't say residents and staff, if I understand correctly, are going to be able to call, let's use Ms. Dumas as an example, and say, I don't understand how I use 2 million gallons of water. Can you look at that for me? So that's probably a transparency piece in that as well. And then did I also hear you say clearly that there's a red flag? So if we're noticing some high volume on somebody, say somebody who's gone for the winter, right, and has closed up in their house and stuff, that's going to get noticed by staff as well. Am I correct on all of that?
Yes, Mayor, you are correct on all that. And in addition to that is Neptune is working on a resident cloud-based system where they can actually view their own meter. They haven't totally developed it yet, but there is another app out there called WaterSense, but it does not pay to get the app until half the population wants to use it. And so hopefully Neptune's resident software will be a lot less expensive.
Okay, that's great. And then I also like the fact that what you're saying is it's one public works person that is having to do this, you know, if needed. So we're not taking two out there, and that other person could be doing, you know, other things at that time, because we know they're always busy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I think as I've been campaigning and stuff, I just hear a lot of questions about the utilities, and this might just be a really great way to answer those questions right away instead of having to wait and not understand. So awesome. All right, I will open this up to Member Luger.
I have no questions.
All right, and Member Yeager.
Okay, when a resident finds that their water bill is too high, don't we already have the capability of red flagging when water usage goes up incorrectly or astronomically?
I can jump in on this one, reviewing utility bills. So currently we only get readings for utility bills quarterly when we're putting out payments. This would allow, this infrastructure allows us to access bills and what residents are being charged 24 hours a day, every day of the year. And so if there is a spike occurring, there is a better chance that staff would be able to read it, because instead of being able to identify reads 4 times a year, they're able to identify reads 365 days a year.
Okay. What's the lifespan of this equipment? How long is it going to last?
20 years.
20 years, okay. And who's going to be reading the meters from City Hall?
The utility billing clerk.
Okay.
Or other staff if necessary. If we did have a COVID outbreak, that's part of the component of this, that not only can it be the utility billing clerk, it can be anyone in our office or any public works employee. That's some of the advantages with this type of setup.
Yeah, but it's more
one person to read versus an entire team of staff to go around the entire city and get the readings.
I was just wondering who is going to be responsible for the day-to-day, provided there's no water main breaks and whatnot. And is this system going to be capable of picking up other stray signals that might come out of a public home, a private home?
I don't believe so. It's a radio signal, so it's tuned to a specific frequency for the meters themselves. And correct me if I'm misunderstanding that, Superintendent Holmgel.
You got that right.
No, it is a fixed system.
All right. And then I'm looking at, well, I guess 20-year lifespans, these will not be included in the long-term plan, will it? For when we need to replace this and there's no more CARES money?
In regards to the actual software or this antenna or the water meters or which component?
Everything. We've been buying iPads. We've been buying, now it's a radio system, locators,
I think
all with CARES money.
Right, and I think
all right, let me finish. When we are after November 15th and there's no more CARES money and all this stuff has to be replaced in time, is this accounted for somewhere in our long-term plans?
Well,
replacing it.
Sure, I can answer that. In regards to some of the items that you talked about in regards to iPads, the iPads, like all of our computer system, we have that on a replacement schedule. So those would be on that 5-year replacement schedule, as all of our city computers are, including our server. In regards to the public works components that you just talked about, in regard to the camera and that locator, I think Mr. Elmgeld said the last one lasted about 20 years. So we're anticipating that we'll have hopefully close to the same lifespan on that. In regards to this, we do have a water and sewer rate study that the council approved, and that we are proactively replacing those meters as necessary. So that's actually in our water utility rate study. So right now we dedicate $50,000 a year to the replacement of those meters, and we'll continue to evaluate that as it is necessary as the meters do wear out. In regards to the antenna, that the lifespan of that is approximately 20 years. You can look at that. We would probably have to do something, obviously, to replace that in that 15 to 20 years. So necessary on some of these items to take them into consideration for long-term. Just like we do any piece of equipment we purchase in the city, we're simply utilizing those CARES dollars as they've been earmarked as necessary items that we are doing to try to alleviate possible things regarding the COVID pandemic, and trying to use those dollars smartly and to make sure that we're not only maybe improving some of our functions and systems in the city, but we're also making sure that our staff if we did have an outbreak here, whether it be at City Hall or Public Works, and we have had multiple cities that we are aware of now that have had that happen, that we can still make sure that we can get our business done as needed and make sure we can provide our services to our residents.
Right, I'm just more concerned that when time goes on and with all this, new systems and whatnot, we don't present a burden to our taxpayers when we don't have CARES money or any other kind of federal subsidies to pay for it. That's just my concern.
Okay.
All right, Member Schilling.
I have nothing to add at this time. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Member Luker.
I have nothing to ask or add.
All right, and Member Zerwas.
No questions, and I'm also in favor of it.
Awesome. All right, so we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-10-91, a resolution approving the purchase of a mobile meter reader and water tower antenna reader from Ferguson Waterworks in the amount of $43,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes the first. Do I have a second?
Member Luger will second.
Member Luger makes the second. Roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is a yes. And I'm really kind of hoping I don't have to say mobile meter reader again for a while. So that's just my 2 cents on that. All right. It gets to be a long meeting. We got to have a little bit of fun, right? Okay. So number 24, to consider a public hearing for November 4th, 2020, Wyoming City Council meeting for a body worn camera policy and implementation by the Wyoming Police Department. Chief Hoppy, it's finally your turn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. Today we're requesting that the City Council call for and set a public hearing for November 4th so we can discuss our body worn camera policy and possible implementation of the program. I'm excited that this is me excited to report that we actually have a businessman in town, Hallberg Family Foundation, that has committed $21,000 to assist us in implementing a body-worn camera program in 2020. And so we want to take advantage of that generous donation and their commitment to not defunding police, but rather funding police accountability. And the statute's very specific as to the processes that we must go through in order to implement a body-worn camera program. Those processes include the 2 steps indicated in the write-up. Number 1, that we post our draft policy, which we have already created for public comment, so that we can use that policy and that public comment in our public hearing. So I've already drafted a model or a draft policy for a body-worn camera. We've created a website on our web page or a web page on our website, city website, with a citizen survey link that will go out tomorrow, if so approved by the council, which will allow the public to review our draft policy, answer a survey, and submit any questions that they have relative to a public hearing on November 4th. And that will be open till October 26th, which time we'll close that period for public comment and then use the survey results and the questions submitted under the survey to address any public concerns in our public hearing, hopefully set for November 4th. So I am requesting authorization or a council call for that public hearing on November 4th to specifically discuss the Wyoming Police Department body-worn camera policy. And I'll stand for any questions.
Chief Hoppy, thank you for that report. My question being about, would you say the majority of cities are starting to go to this body camera technology?
So the state in the past 18 months has been working on standard pillars of recommendation handed out to police departments as far as law enforcement or police reform. And one of those pillars is a strong recommendation that cities implement body-worn cameras for law enforcement or police transparency. And so we're seeing a push across the state as the police chiefs across the state try to implement some of those pillars that the state work group has recommended as part of the officer involved deadly encounter task force. And so we're seeing really a push across the state where more and more departments are implementing. But more importantly, we're seeing a standard expectation by citizens that we have these body worn cameras for that exact reason. So, you know, as much as the state has identified it as one of our major pillars in professional policing moving forward with reducing deadly encounters with law enforcement, our communities are more vocal in the expectation that we have this technology and that we use it, you know, not only for police, but citizen accountability as well.
Okay, thank you. And one of the things I tend to be a little concerned about, we've talked about federal or state unfunded mandates. You know, what I would really be afraid of is if this does come down as an unfunded mandate eventually, just being able to have this generous donation from a foundation to be able to help us with this, because it eventually is going that way, I believe. So that is a huge cost savings as well to our residents. So I think that's great, and that we're engaging the public. You know, that's extremely important that we keep doing that engagement. We've been doing it for a long time now, and I think it's great we continue with it. So with that, I'll open it up to Member Zerwas.
I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad to see that we're going to move forward with it. That's a great tool for law enforcement.
And coming from a previous police chief, I think that's a great endorsement, Member Zerwas. Member Yeager.
Will 21,000 be sufficient?
So what we'd be looking at is a subscription to a body worn camera system, which would include our data storage, data retention software, redacting software, and the technology itself. And based on how the contract is structured, it's a 5-year contract, and the vendor replaces the body worn cameras every 5 years as part of the payment structure. And so the $21,000 essentially will cover the initial implementation of the system, and then it will cost us about $7,300 a year to maintain it. And that includes data storage, the software for doing read action, and the hardware as well, and replacement of the hardware going forward.
And that the $7,300 a year to maintain, that's come down significantly since we've last discussed it?
We discussed this initiative probably 4 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
And when I originally looked at it, the software, the implementation cost was about $50,000 a year. Our donor was willing to do it at that time as well, but our ongoing costs were anticipated at about $25,000 per year because we really didn't have a cloud-based storage solution. So it required our own servers, our own server maintenance, and a number of other issues. But you know, since we've had this large push across nationally for law enforcement involved in body-worn camera, the technology has dropped significantly. We do have vendors out there that are cloud-based, so our cost on an annual basis has dropped essentially by 2/3. And so that really puts us in a strong position to implement this going forward. And it is part of our 2021 current budget proposal of $10,000 a year into the body-worn camera program. And based on the bid, we would be looking at spending about less than $7,500 a year to maintain it.
Okay. And the public hearing portion of this, are we going to have any public actually in our meeting live?
I think that is part of the discussion that Rob and Kelly and I are having as relative to, you know, how do we invite the public in to participate in the public hearing. We're certainly opening it up for them to submit questions so that we can answer those questions for the public hearing that we'll submit to you guys as well as far as the survey results. But I do believe that we are looking at a solution, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, I think we talked about a little bit today, of allowing public participation on electronic platform like this to ask questions during that Zoom meeting or open public hearing.
I think that would enhance transparency if we held a public hearing with the public.
I don't disagree with you. We're looking at different solutions on how do we effectively do that. But certainly the public, we'll be pushing out on our social media platforms. We'll be posting it on our webpage. We'll get an article out to the newspaper inviting the public to submit those comments. So at the minimum, they've had at least 2 weeks period of time that they can submit questions and that we can answer it. And be able to actually read our policy, because that'll be pushed out tomorrow if so approved, and notice of the public hearing. So they can read the policy, answer the survey questions that we've submitted to them, and including open-ended questions that they'd be able to submit their own questions, and then we would address those in a public hearing. But I believe, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are looking at a solution, correct, for participation?
So we currently have our existing process, which is where people can submit questions prior to the meeting, which will then be brought forward. We're looking at what other communities are doing for this type of conversation in other public hearings in the midst of our kind of COVID response virtual council meetings, to see really what are the practices being done in other communities to help guide how we would move forward. If there is a significant push to or interest in the community to be present in a meeting and utilize that feature, that would be something that administration would take into consideration.
Okay, because I always thought even our council meetings without the public being able to participate live in open forum lacked a little transparency. Will the copy of the policy be sent to council?
The draft policy is already linked to a website or a web page on our website that has yet to be released. So when we release that web page tomorrow, the council will have access to the draft policy right along with the public.
We can send it.
You're not going to email it to us. Okay.
We can send a copy directly to the.
Thank you.
We can certainly send a PDF copy directly to the council if you wish.
Thank you.
All right. I forgot where I left off. Member Schilling.
I actually have no questions with this. I just wanted to add one thing on a slight humor note. Just remember, Chief, that if this does move forward, you're going to have to build into that budget cost signage for the bathrooms to remind them to turn those off.
We've already talked about how to handle that in the classification of that data.
We have them on City Hall, so.
Correct.
I'm going to say that gave Mr. Lunan a chuckle. I could see him kind of laughing at that. So that was good. Member Schilling, I appreciate that. Not something I would have thought of.
Yeah, ironically, is I was in the meeting with the public, with the chief when we were discussing this last year. And the chief had stated very clearly that the public wouldn't want to see this. And a woman in front was like, well, what do you mean?
I can say from a cost perspective, we would only require one sign at the police department.
This is true. That's very true. All right, Member Luker.
I have no questions. All of mine have been answered. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Limwood or Ms. Dumas, I do have one question. I know Councilmember Yeager brought up transparency. How many views are we getting? Typically in a meeting, we would probably have 5 or 6 people when we were live, when we were all gathering. How many are we experiencing on YouTube or watching live? I'm just kind of curious in those numbers. I
think in regards to the immediate time people watching, that varies from meeting to meeting. Sometimes it's as low as 3, sometimes it's as high as 10. But we do know that we go back, if I go back and review some of those meetings on the YouTube, you can see the views. And I think the views are significant. It depends upon the meeting. I'd have to look at our last when we approved budget. I think that was in the 20s or 30s in regards to the views on that particular meeting. So we are seeing people interact and utilize that visual component of being that. And as we work through the COVID pandemic, and we still always have the ability right now for our residents or business owners to utilize that open forum, and we have that on the top of our webpage that you can certainly send questions to narrate those to those. And we have received those in the past, not many lately. So that option is always there, of course, to all of our residents.
All right, great, thank you. So we need a motion to approve a public hearing for November 4th, 2020, Wyoming City Council meeting by Zoom right now, right? That should be by Zoom? Okay. For a body worn camera policy and implementation by the Wyoming Police Department. Do we have a motion to approve?
Member Luger will make that motion.
Member Luger makes the first. Do we have a second?
Second, Member Zerwas.
Member Zeros makes that second, and roll call, please. Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Schilling?
Aye.
Member Zeros?
Aye.
Member Luger?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. All right. You know what? We don't have a time on that. Is it going to be 7 o'clock?
Oh, you're muted, Rob.
Thank you. Like any public hearing, it's just scheduled for that council meeting at 7.
Okay.
So it'll just be identified at that meeting.
All right. Thank you. Number 25 on our agenda. To consider a special meeting on October 15th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. for negotiations with the International Union of Operator Engineers, local number 49, and with local law enforcement services, LELS. Mr. Linwood?
Yes, Mayor Iverson, members of the council, we have received a counter proposal from the local 49ers in regards to our continuing negotiations with them. And we are anticipating that we will receive an initial proposal from LELS prior to that meeting on October 15th. So at this point in time, we're asking the council to call a special meeting on October 15th at 5:30 to move forward with those two items.
Okay, and has everybody checked their calendars? Just a shake of the head, please,
Yep,
that they
I'm
have?
good.
Okay, all right. Member Zeros, are you good with that date?
It looks good right now, yes.
Okay, and Member Yeager?
Yeah, I just looked at the calendar, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So we need a motion to approve the special meeting on October 15th, 2020 at 5:30. That is closed door negotiations with the International Union of Operator Engineers, local number 49, with local law enforcement services, LELS. And I do need a motion to approve.
Member Schilling.
So moved, Member Zerwas.
All right, so we'll go Member Schilling for a first and Member Zeros as a second, if that's okay. And I see yes. All right, so we are going to do a roll call, please. Member Luger?
Aye.
Member Zeros?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Schilling?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is a yes. All right, number 26, to consider a proclamation declaring October 1st through October 7th, 2020 as Manufacture Week in the city of Wyoming. Ms. Dumas, I'm assuming you're going to do this. You do a great job with this, so.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The city is presenting this proclamation to recognize manufacturing in Minnesota as well as in Wyoming specifically as a significant contributor to not only our local economy, but also to our community. Manufacturing is a critical part of the economic industry in Wyoming and provides a significant number of jobs to Wyoming residents and other people who commute into the city to work in those industries as well. So the proclamation presented before to you recognizes those manufacturers and the contributions that they make to the Wyoming community.
This is awesome. What a difference a year makes. I remember last year we had a lot of students that were touring our manufacturing plants and businesses, and so it's a little bit sad. I think we did that 3 years in a row, Mr. Linwood?
We did. Excuse me. We did, Mayor Iverson, and I wanted to share with the council that I had a conversation today actually with Nancy Hoffman, or recently, I should say, with Nancy Hoffman, and they are working to try to do, as part of Manufacturers Week, to do some virtual visits with manufacturers for some of those schools. So even though it isn't the same as the tours and the job fair and everything we've done in the past, they're still going to be moving forward and trying to open that up to some of our local students and in Wyoming, Forest Lake and surrounding school districts, Chisago, North Branch, et cetera, within the county, to be able to still experience some of those really great manufacturing companies that we have here in town and around the county.
Yeah, and I think it's what we need to mention, and we're very fortunate in Wyoming. You know, Wyoming is home to 30% of all manufacturing within Chisago, right, within the county, and that's amazing to have that. It's also pretty incredible that most of the manufacturing, and I could be corrected on this, but I don't believe we had any manufacturers that were necessarily closed, maybe furloughed for a little bit. For the most part, most of them were open and considered critical, that they needed to be going on with the COVID going on. So again, I think it's wonderful that we are honoring Manufacturing Week. I know that not everybody wants to go to college or needs to go to college. We know that there are some wonderfully wonderful paying jobs that these manufacturers pay, get an education on the job. And so I'm always a big proponent of Manufacturing Week. So excited that we're honoring them and that they're going to do something virtual. I'll open it up for questions. Member Schilling.
I have no questions.
All right, Member Yeager.
No questions.
Member Zerwas.
No questions.
Member Luker.
No questions.
Awesome. All right, so we need a motion to approve the proclamation declaring October 1st through the 7th, 2020 as Manufacturing Week in the city of Wyoming. I'm also assuming this will be on our website, right?
It will.
Okay.
We'll share it on our website and social media page.
Awesome, that's great. So I'll make the first motion on that to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Member Luker is the second, and by roll call, please, Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is a loud aye on that. So number 27, we are on the last one if everybody's still listening. So, all right, and that would be on page 355, if you're following along. To consider authorization of a 10% match in the amount of $1,432 for a grant for a turnout gear washer, extractor, dryer for the Wyoming Fire Department. Chief Hoppy, I believe you're going to be discussing this.
I am. Madam Mayor and the council members, we have an opportunity to apply for a grant to the state fire marshals, which allows us to purchase a washer, extractor, and separately a second machine, a dryer for our fire department. Our fire turnout gear often gets exposed to carcinogens, which is a byproduct of structure fires, which has been directly related to inflated cancer amongst firefighters. One of the most significant contributions that we can create to try and mitigate that risk is to regularly wash or decontaminate our turnout gear. Currently, we have one washer, extractor, and one dryer in the fire hall, and we can do 2 sets of gear simultaneously. So with 30 firefighters, nearly 30 firefighters, you can see that it takes a considerable amount of time to go through and wash all of that gear. As part of that cancer mitigation program, the state fire marshal is offering up a matching grant, and your matching contribution is based on your population size. So considering that the city of Wyoming is under 10,000 people, our contribution requirement would be 10% match of the total grant. The grant will cover not only the cost of purchasing the 2 pieces of equipment, the extractor, washer, and the dryer, but also the cost of doing the installation of wiring and plumbing. And so our total project cost for this is $14,319, which would be the grant amount that we would apply for. If awarded, the city would be required to fund 10% of that total cost $1,432. I think this is a great opportunity and taking advantage of that grant. And my recommendation is that the council authorizes us to submit for the grant and commits to the 10% contribution in the event that we're awarded a grant.
All right, thank you. Questions, Member Yeager?
No questions.
Member Schilling?
I have no questions.
Member Ziros?
I have no questions.
All right, and Member Luker?
Questions.
Perfect. All right, so we will need a motion to approve the 10% match in the amount of $1,432 for a grant for a turnout gear washer, extractor dryer for the Wyoming Fire Department. Do I have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling,
So moved.
So Member Schilling is the first, and Member Ziros will make that second motion. And roll call, please. Member Luger?
Aye.
Member Yeager?
Aye.
Member Ziros?
Aye.
And Member Schilling?
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is yes to that. Awesome. What a great way to end the meeting with helping out our fire department and making sure they're safe. So that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to do council reports. And then Mr. Erickson, when we're all done, is going to give us just a brief update with the project over by Kettle River. So let's start with Member Yeager.
I attended the special meeting on September 17th, and thank you all for watching, and that's my report.
All right, Member Schilling.
I attended the special council meeting on September 17th. I also attended the Chisago County Sewer Commission on the 21st, and I'll let Joe give that report on that. And I'd like to thank everybody for watching tonight. It's been a pleasure.
All right, let's go with Member Ziros then next, as long as we're talking about sewers.
Okay. Well, I attended the special council meeting on September the 17th and also the sewer commission meeting on September the 21st at Mitcham City Hall. Mark Nelson reported that the plant's been running very smoothly, well within the permit limits. Also stated that the transition into Veolia has been going real well. We did learn from the budget committee, though, that there's about a $76,000 deficit in the budget. Learned that is due to severance payouts to recent retirees from the plant. That, along with the increase in charges for running the plant from Veolia for treatment charges, has caused an increase in the here I go. Just a minute here. I can find my note here. Increase in the treatment charges. And there's going to be a 25% increase in the that the people are going to suffer. In other words, 12% probably for the last quarter of this year. They're figuring increase in treatment charges and a great possibility of another 13% increase on the 1st of January of 2021.
So
This
Joe,
is very sad because
I just want to clarify one thing. You had stated 12%. It's actually a 12-cent increase right now. And we voted for the 13-cent increase on January 1st for a total of a 25-cent annual increase.
You're right. You're right.
Yep. Sorry, you had said percent. I just wanted to clarify that so people didn't run away.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that would have been ridiculous. Even at this rate, I was still quite upset over the fact that there has to be an increase because we haven't had an increase for the last 5 years. But then possibly that's part of it's because of severance pay and the others for Veolia. We also learned that there's going to be a rate study done by Abdoek and Meyer, and that will be done at a cost of approximately $8,000 to $10,000. We'll learn more after that study's done. And that's my report.
All right, thank you. Member Luker.
I also attended the special meeting as well as a Park Advisory Council meeting last night. There were three items under the new business part of the agenda, and the first was discussing and reviewing the Comfort Lakes footpath proposal, and then and kind of giving the feedback to the developer on where the Park Advisory Commission will, their thoughts and adds requests to the proposal. The second item was the Park Advisory Commission has begun discussing an idea of a collaborative project with the Grange on an open air museum idea. And so that's just in the very beginning of kind of that idea. So there will be more to come on that. And then the third item was the discussions of adding electric to Lions Park. And that's all I have. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. I attended that special meeting as well. I attended the Park Advisory Council meeting. I also attended the Planning Commission meeting. I was part of the Touch a Truck or Don't Touch a Truck, sorry. That was an amazing event. Really appreciate the thought and the time that was put into it and the amount of people that were lining the streets. It was just a great event. So kudos just to the police, to fire, to Miss Dumas. It was really a great event. I didn't hear anything negative about it. So good job on that. And then, and I have to say too, our fireworks. I cannot tell you how many people were just excited that we went ahead and went with our fireworks, that we kept that tradition. And I know I kind of pushed everybody on that because I felt very, very important that we continued with it. And you guys just knocked it out of the park. It was great. The fireworks were great. The cheer afterwards, I think, was loud as we've ever had. So, and then there was also some live Facebook going on with that as well. So really appreciated that everybody could see that. I would also just like to point out that we are going to have an opening on the Park Advisory Commission. So we are taking applications for that, and then also the Planning Commission as well. So we just want to make sure that that gets up on our website if anybody who is watching or everybody who's watching would like to be a part of our great committees and really shape what Wyoming is and has become, and for the future, make sure you apply for those. So with that, I have nothing else, and I appreciate everybody watching and staying safe. I look forward to possibly our tree lighting, but that's for another subject. I'm just doing a wink on that. So, and then Mr. Erickson, it's your turn.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I am screen sharing just to provide a little ease in the description of where things are at with the 2020 street improvement project. You all can see my screen, I presume?
Yes.
All right, well, fantastic. Just a brief update. Area 1, the southern area here, tomorrow morning, late morning, they'll start putting the final lift of asphalt on. And so this area is really wrapping up. The topsoil is placed, the restoration has taken place. And so we're making very good progress on area 1. Area number 3, the northern portion, tomorrow they'll be tolerancing the roadway, meaning they're going to be grading the class 5, getting it to the exact elevation that we want. And they'll be paving that on Thursday. And so we're making great progress there as well. So they're going to be paving this on Thursday. They'll probably wrap this area up, area 1 paving. They'll start late morning tomorrow and finish up Thursday. When they complete the paving there, this will be toleranced in time. They'll be paving this section almost in its entirety. There's a couple of areas that we still, we've been waiting for XL to relocate some of the existing facilities that they have there that were in conflict. Those were taking place and completed here this week. And so we're going to pave everything except a couple of small areas where we still need to install the concrete curb and gutter. So this will be much improved for those residents in that area. They'll also be paving on that day. They'll be paving the parking lot of Lions Park as well. So we're making great progress there. As I mentioned, the curb and gutter is in this area. The topsoil is placed. Area 2 here. This is an area 2, and I just like to give a summary here again. I know we talked about this with the item for purchase with the camera, but this is an area where a utility company, wasn't part of our project, but a utility company had come through, and they had directionally bored a conduit that had gone through our sanitary sewer in this location. And I just want to highlight the teamwork involved with that. Starting with Public Works, This happened on a weekend, prior to a weekend, and both our inspection staff, public works staff, and the contractor babysat that over the weekend, monitoring it to ensure that the flows from everything from the neighbors to the south were able to continue to flow through there. And it involved jetting that line multiple times as there was material, sand and gravel migrating its way into the pipe and creating that blockage. And so that was monitored and babysat over the weekend. And so Public Works did a fantastic job. We did not have a camera readily available. The sanitary sewer was under the water table, so we couldn't just excavate down to it. And so the contractor did a great job. Everybody just played a really good part in that, and just making sure that we didn't have backups and that it was taken care of as expediently as possible. So I'm proud of the teamwork involved in that. Just thought I'd highlight that. And again, kudos to Public Works for all their efforts on that. So the project is coming along very well and coming together. We'll likely have a meeting here coming up. I think the first meeting in November, where we'll declare the cost and set the public hearing for that assessment hearing. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, Mr. Erickson, I'm going to say this, and I hope council will do this as well. I'm going to call girl for a second. The trees that line that whole development and changing color, and then you see this new road and curb and gutter, and again, I'm calling girl. It is one of those things that just transformed that whole entire neighborhood. And so if council hasn't had time, take a bike, take a car, whatever, and just drive down it. It is absolutely amazing. And had many conversations with residents, and they're feeling the same way. They're just very excited, and it's very picturesque. So I just, you've done a great job. So it looks great. Does council have any other questions for Mr. Erickson regarding the project? Nope, everybody's shaking their head. You're tired. All right, so good job on the meeting tonight. I know it went really long, but great work, and just appreciate working with all of you. So with that, we need a motion to adjourn. Don't all jump at it at one time, because you might want to be on a little longer. I don't know, but do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. So all in favor, just shake your head and then wave goodbye. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
See ya.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I think everyone. Bye.